Hello and welcome to this video guide on how to fit our R1300 GS hugger to an R1300 GS. Begin by assembling the hugger blade to the hugger mounting bracket like so. To do this, you will need to use the 4 provided M6 bolts, nuts and washers. Place the bolts through the top, place one of the M6 stainless washers onto the thread, and then the nylon nuts go on the underside of the hugger like so. Do this for all 4 mounting points. With the 4 bolts in loosely, you can then tighten them up, ensuring that there is an equal gap around the bracket. These holes are slotted, so there is a little bit of movement if for some reason you need to realign it, but try to get an equal gap all the way around, tighten it up. These 3 M6 bolts need to be torqued to 9 Newton meters. With the hugger fully assembled, we can now move to the bike. Now it is essential that you have your GS on its center stand. You'll see why in a minute. Pop it on the center stand, come to the rear wheel. There are only 2 bolts that we're going to be working with here. This mounting point here with the rear brake caliper and this mounting point here. Those are the only 2 points that we need to fiddle with. So first off, you need to remove these 2 bolts. So starting off with the caliper bolt here, simply remove this bolt. And then the last bolt to remove is this one here. Now you may notice there is a nut on the back of it, which you will need to use a 16mm spanner to get access to. Grab a 16mm spanner, pop it on the nut up the back like so, and then you can undo the bolt. Just loosen it enough to the point where you can get the nut off the back like so. There we go. So we've got the nut off, and now I'm just going to move the camera back so you can see. I'm just going to use my right hand just to grab the spray guard and just lift the rear wheel up slightly and just try to wiggle this bolt out here. It should come out like so. Now you will notice that once you've removed this bolt, the rear wheel will drop down significantly and it will put quite a lot of pressure on this cable here. So just to prevent that, just pop something, anything, underneath the rear wheel just to keep it from sagging down and putting a lot of tension on this cable here. So remove that bolt, pop something under the rear wheel just to bring it off the ground slightly, and we can proceed to the next step. Now included in our fitting kit are these 2 components here. These are both designed to sit inside this mounting hole. First off, place this item inside like so. It may be quite a tight fit, you might have to push it in, but it should fit nice and snug. And then grab the shoulder washer right here and place that from the outside in like that. Also included in our fitting kit is an M10 by 80 and an M10 by 40 Torx head bolt. These are both replacing the 2 bolts we removed earlier. So with your shoulder washer in the hugger fully assembled, these 2 bolts removed, we can now place the hugger over the bike like that, nice and gently. Grab the M10 by 80 bolt, feed it through the hugger. This is where you need to make sure that it all realigns back together again. So this bolt goes through absolutely everything back to the nut that we removed earlier. It is important that the rear wheel is propped up by something. I'm using just a little toolbox here to keep it off the ground. Otherwise, you will have to manually pull up on the wheel to get these to line up again. So get this bolt through, give it a bit of a wiggle. It will need a bit of a wiggle and a bit of a push, but eventually it should somewhere, there we go, pop through to the other side, and we can then loosely, it's all very loose at this point, put the nut back on the threads at the end. So with this one in, it's very loose at this point. We're going to grab the other bolt, the M10 by 40, and then grab the M10 washer that we include in our kit as well. Pop the washer on there, and then you can place the final mounting point just like so. We're going to do that up fairly loosely, just like the other one. With both bolts in loosely, you can now go back and forth with tightening them up one by one. You'll need the 16mm spanner again on the nut at the back and just start tightening them up a bit more securely. Now the torque value for these 2 bolts here are 24 Newton meters for the M10 by 40 bolt and 56 Newton meters for the M10 by 80 bolt. Make sure to use a torque wrench to correctly torque them up to the right specs. It's just very crucial to know about having something underneath the rear wheel just to keep it propped up. It makes it that much easier. If you're having any trouble fitting it or encountering any issues, please feel free to get in contact with us, drop us a line, write us an email. We'll help out where we can.